I've encountered men throughout my life who say that they want a long-term relationship. They want a high-quality woman. And yet their strategies for getting such a woman are not working. Today we're going to use Taylor Bell, explore this curious phenomenon about why they are not succeeding and what they could potentially do better to succeed. Now we're going to be using Taylor Bell simply as an example of someone who represents a high quality woman. And if you're not familiar with who she is a YouTuber who documents her journey as previously a management consultant, and she represents a lot of these traits that a man would want or has expressed interest in. She lives in New York City. She has her life together, has a solid career and solid business, and she's pretty, she's smart, and socially intelligent. Now, when you consider what a woman like Taylor would generally do on a day-to-day basis and her lifestyle in New York City, you can really start to see where men break down and make mistakes. So from some of these men I have in my mind, one of the first mistakes they make is the city they choose. Now, certain cities like Las Vegas, Miami are generally more known for short-term relationships because of their culture and also because of the way that they are simply designed. Now, of course, you can definitely still find long-term relationships here and people still do there, but it's generally harder to do because of the culture, the structure, and even arguably the temptation. And I find a lot of these men tend to go to the wrong cities, which already puts them at a disadvantage. But then think about her lifestyle and think about what type of activities you're going to. So chances are these men are usually making the mistake of going to nightclubs and bars, and that's their tactic. That's what media has programmed them to think is like the best place to meet women. Now, don't get me wrong, I think these places have their advantages. From my experience, if you go to like a yoga class or spin class or even a rec sports league, you may meet 4 or 5 women tops after the whole 6-week league. Maybe 10 if you're really social, and then even less if you're in a spin class or improv class. Now, a bar does allow you to have a lot of volume and velocity, so there are trade-offs there. But when you look at what a woman like Taylor would do, she's generally never going to a nightclub or bar. And if she is, it's once a quarter, once a year, probably to celebrate someone else's birthday party or for some YouTuber function. Her life revolves around creating content, potentially attending networking events within her industry, and probably spending time in the park, occasionally going to the gym and some fitness class, but generally doing her work in her office or at a park, Central Park, Bryant Park, you name it. So there's another breakdown. Most people, not only are they going to the wrong venues, they're also going to the wrong activities within the city they're in, thereby not even crossing paths with the lifestyle of these people. So what's your best bet here? Now, I don't have the perfect answer because, this is above my pay grade, but I think this puzzle has to be cracked with how you're actually socially engaging with a person and being thoughtful with the marketing strategy you're employing. You have to fish in the wells that people exist. If you're posting videos on Vidler or Vimeo when your audience is on YouTube, no matter how many times you post, chances are you're not going to succeed because you're not fishing in the lakes the fish you want to catch are. So be thoughtful, be inquisitive. I don't have a golden answer, but just based off what I've heard from, talking to people like Taylor, they generally, they work. They occasionally go out with their friends. They meet other people in business networking events. They're usually at the park. They may be at a spin class or fitness class every so often. And that's their general life velocity. And sure, maybe they're on the streets and occasionally at a bar. But those may be some starting places, and you may find something even better if you can really start to build your social circle, social life, and actually start to make friends. Maybe it is a rec lead. I know women with solid careers as management consultants and so forth who are voluntarily going to these sports leagues not as a place to play sports, but really to also broaden their dating prospects. So you really have to think more thoughtfully with how you're fishing. Now, what about once you actually meet this person? How do you actually attract them? Now, that is probably well beyond my pay grade and the purpose of this video. However, I will tip my hat to a book by Dr. David Buss called The Evolution of Desire. It is probably the most scientific book on dating because he studied tens of thousands of people across almost all the continents and like over 30 plus different cultures, from native local Indian tribes all the way to established civilizations in Denmark. So he has tens of thousands of research studies done of all these tens of thousands of people, and he found a lot of really interesting things about what attracts a woman to a man. And the one thing I want to pull out from the book, out of the many incredible, sometimes shocking discoveries, is that men and women will evaluate someone differently based on if they're seeking short or long-term relationships. So in terms of the how, you have to realize that some of the things that may have worked for a short-term relationship, like emphasizing your muscles, your athletic prowess, are probably not going to be as effective for a long-term mate. Traits that matter more start to shift towards if you're caring, honest, authentic, compassionate, loyal, good with children, and those types of qualities. Do you have your life together? Can you provide resources for her? So check out that book, and then a follow-up book is What Women Want by Dr. Geoffrey Miller and Tucker Max, which also goes in a lot more detail about the how. Now, I totally understand that not everyone can move and pick up to New York. It's an expensive city. I want you to understand the general thought process and philosophy and apply it to your own life, not necessarily taking it verbatim. So if you can't move to New York, for example, take that philosophy and at least see if you can move from your small town to an area where there's more career established women.